11 million. Are these growth numbers realistic from your perspective?
I think they're approximates, obviously, or best guesstimates. And to date, I think we haven't necessarily met the previous set of projections. So I would say it's probably a little bit overly optimistic, but I think it's in the order of magnitude. I mean, if we get within 10%, that's still significant. So I think we have to plan for growth, and I think these projections will give us some good guidelines in terms of the kind of growth management we need to do in terms of space, but also accommodating these folks that come here with employment opportunities. So out of that, we anticipate some 360,000 jobs by 2051. So that's a significant bump up in terms of employment opportunities. So where are they going to where are they going to land? What kind of jobs are they going to be? What's going to be the major driver of the economy? And I would say it's going to be innovation in many respects. It's going to be the kind of new opportunities that come out of innovation technologies, many of which are housed in and around MIP. So great opportunity to brainstorm, innovate, create products that can then be produced right here in Hamilton. And certainly we're putting a lot of stock in that potential. So back to your original question, I think it might be a little on the high side, but even so, I would think we have to plan for that kind of projection, because if it goes higher than that, which it could, then we're going to be caught behind. So I'd rather plan for it's not a worst case scenario. It's a good scenario.
It's a good scenario.
It's the best case scenario, and make sure that we're prepared for that. And if we underperform in that area in terms of volume, at least we've not underperformed in terms of job opportunities, and we keep driving on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely good news for real estate, because it means a lot of intensification of land, and I think Ontario's guidelines have driven you into that aspect. And the city of Hamilton has done this study where, in order to accommodate that growth, you really need to intensify land use, which is great news for real estate, but it would also be interesting to know what the city expects from us in that respect. Do you have any comment there?
Well, I mean, I think the expectation is that we have investors that are keen on Hamilton as a location, and one of the key factors that we keep talking about is that we are geographically well located here in terms of movement of goods specifically, but also in terms of production of goods. And actually, Amazon just landing in the city of Hamilton at the airport is a kind of a key indicator of how they believe the cargo capacity at the airport is going to drive the economy forward as well. And we're seeing significant expansion in the distribution centers. And so I think that area is going to continue to grow. Logistics is going to continue to grow. Movement of goods with the port and the airport and our rail and road infrastructure really says that our location is ideally located within the kind of massive geographic markets in the United States, across the border in Niagara Falls, and across the border in Detroit. So if you think of that massive market, we are right smack in the middle of all of that. So some 50 million people to draw on in terms of opportunity, in terms of sales for those that are looking to market, product development. So we're well positioned. So I want the commercial developer to appreciate that not only are we geographically well located, but we're also technologically well developed as well. That marriage of the opportunity to create an advanced manufacturing supercluster, which is what we've been designated as part of, is really going to be the key to how we continue to grow the commercial industrial sector.
Yeah, and you mentioned two areas of commercial growth. One is the airport area, and the investment of Amazon and DHL. The other one you already mentioned was MIP and the annex there in the West Hamilton Innovation District. And I think the third one is obviously the Bay Area, right? Commercial, moving or changing the Pier 8 area, right? Is that the third area of growth for you?
Well, Pier 8 in terms of residential growth for sure. But when we're thinking about the former industrial lands that was Stelco, in part Dofasco, and all the industry that used to be there that is now gone, a lot of that is being rethought in terms of future advanced manufacturing opportunities, or some prestige commercial industrial opportunities as well. And what comes to mind is a movie theater, arts centers, obviously production and distribution centers. Stelco land specifically, so not too long ago, Stelco was acquired, somewhat controversially, I would say, from the province of Ontario, but notwithstanding, Stelco owns all of those lands now. Only one small part of it needs to be utilized for steel production, which is still, a significant part of our economy, and we don't want that to disappear. But the remainder of those lands, at some point, are going to be available for future commercial industrial development, and that is really a clear and present opportunity, probably outweighing the airport employment growth district in terms of our ability to get it up and running, because it's already serviced. So it's got the roads, it's got the it's got the sewer and water infrastructure, all that's necessary for good commercial industrial development is already there. That is yet to be fully developed at the airport employment growth district. So we have a limitation in terms of how far we can go before that sewer capacity is advanced, and that's being worked on right now. So I would say the clear, more present opportunities lies in the repurposing of some of the former industrial sites that are going to turn into commercial industrial opportunities. And where in this province, maybe even in Canada, do you get a K-zone industrial designation with 3,000 or 4,000 hectares attached to it that are open for repurposing and redevelopment? So it's a unique opportunity.
So you're well positioned from a land perspective, commercial land perspective. I think your study also shows that. And obviously there needs to be an intensification of that use. Let's go from the general economy transport more to the knowledge economy. Innovation Factory is obviously attracting innovation to the city. Is this a significant area of growth for you, Mayor Fred?
Absolutely. And, as I said at the outset, I think the Innovation Park is going to be the key to future, research and product development. And we can add to that now the recent announcement by McMaster to launch a pandemic research facility, which is also heading towards biomedical research and additional biomedical research over and above what the Fraunhofer Institute is already doing. We have the Automotive Research Center there that is obviously looking at automotive technology and how they can advance that more significantly, along with CanMet, metallurgical research facility that we borrowed from Ottawa and has now landed, I think, in the right place, which is looking at new alloys to lighten vehicles and strengthen vehicles and strengthen any kind of product, quite frankly. So all of those, lead to, some very exciting opportunities. And I think in the biomedical science area, there's a lot of opportunity that McMaster is heavily engaged in. Research on the next generation of antibiotics, which is a really key future necessary endeavor that again is being heavily researched here and could very well be produced here as well. So there's a lot of diversified technology opportunities. What we want to make sure is that we have the broadband and the bandwidth to be able to support that, and I believe that's coming along as well. We have a recent, certainly in the commercial sense, investment from Bell Canada in terms of fiber optics, and we have our own Hamilton Community Energy fiber optic operation, operating in our many parts of our city as well to make those connections. So we there's a good marriage of innovation cluster, in part driven by the Forge and the great work that Dave Carter and Innovation Factory is doing to inspire young entrepreneurs to think out of the box and then have opportunities for them to get financing and capital and have that housed in a location where they can easily access that. And then, lead that to, having those, whatever they come up with, to be produced here in Hamilton, where we have the available space and lands to actually land an industrial production complex.
Thank you. Thank you. And David, I think that's, Fred was already moving over to your space, which is the innovation factory. You're accelerating businesses that bring innovation to the city. You want to tell us like which sectors from your perspective are demanding your services, and also do they even need real estate space, or are they all virtual now and in garages? Will it drive real estate demand?
Well, I think whenever you make physical things, you need space for sure. So there's certain knowledge workers. I think we're going to benefit from the decoupling of that. So, you think of the times where a downtown Toronto company would love to move out to Hamilton for cost, but they have existing staff that live in downtown Toronto. You just can't pick up and go. Those have been a little bit decoupled with the pandemic, where your head office can exist differently than your knowledge workers, which we're attractive to those people. But we're also attractive to those knowledge workers because it's an affordable city with, sort of a hip environment versus, say, moving, to Temiskaming, no offense to Temiskaming. So I think the fact that those two things got decoupled might make some of those decisions easier, whether it's a head office or just a remote worker working remotely. Of course, we want both. There are a lot of exciting things happening in Hamilton. So the partners that Mayor Fred mentioned, like HCE and people like that, have meant that when we applied for funding for an autonomous vehicle innovation network grant, we came in with the theme of smart cities. So we've recently launched the Center for Integrated Transportation and Mobility, which is all the technology around the things that Mayor Fred highlighted that we have as an asset in terms of goods movement and those sorts of things. The big money makers on those are the people that plan logistics. We want to track our packages down to the last mile. That's all technology. We want to do predictive maintenance on our vehicles so that they get maintenance just in time. If companies doing that sort of thing. All of these things are the underpinnings of a modern culture. We don't just drive a truck and until it dies. All these things are tracked. We don't just wait for our goods to arrive. All these things are tracked, as well as the other things that are coming out with the vehicles themselves in terms of autonomy and smart cars in general. Because of course you can't have any of these smart cars unless you have a smart city. So from our perspective, the city's been a great partner to help us build this living lab, which is attractive to these kinds of companies to say, well, I've done this in a lab environment. Can I run my products on Hamilton streets, and do you have some sensors put up in different areas? So we've actually partnered with the city to put in some 5G infrastructure in different places, some traffic cameras that will contribute to a lab environment, not just go into traffic and operations, which of course would be privatized or private data. So I think Hamilton being as nimble as we are and as open as we are to this kind of change is serving us, and we're seeing that, but it's going to serve us even more in the future.
Yeah. I mean, as you say, lab space. I mean, we are opening up actually, for example, our annex next to MIP as a lab space for proptech, right? So where they can just try things out, new technologies around energy saving, new technology about management of buildings or other innovative ideas in the property space. Is that something you come across, and you want to talk about what MIP is doing on their side?
Yeah, who's our landlord, has been a great partner. So obviously that infrastructure I was talking about, the first and easiest place to put it up is in a private area like MIP. Putting something on a traffic pole in downtown Hamilton has a lot more ramifications and is a lot more difficult. So having, the acres that we have to put equipment up, we could do that day one. And we've got equipment around that space. That's one thing. Now, MIP is a very academic environment. So we see with where that's expanding in the whole innovation neighborhood, anytime we can connect customers who actually have the problems, that is, proptech companies like Forge and Foster, or property companies who need proptech, now it's a really nice environment, because when those companies come and say they have a solution, we've got a client that can vet that solution, or even better, we've got a client that can say, well, hold on, this is the thing that really keeps me up at night, and this is the thing that I would pay money to fix. Versus just, engineers building things because they were hard to build, and now they think that a whole audience is going to come. And that's why the life sciences have been so successful for us. We have those potential clients, the hospital networks, and people like Bayer and Health Trust, and all kinds of people that could consume those solutions, offering feedback to those entrepreneurs, whether they're scientists or small business startups. So that's the really hot environment for innovation.
Yeah, you mentioned in our pre-talk that you actually prefer innovation that actually solves an issue rather than it's just
sells better.
Yeah, good. No, I agree. Mayor Fred, anything you would like to add there?
Well, we put a lot of stock in what's happening in MIP. I mean, the reason that the city invested with McMaster in the first place was to inspire exactly what they've just finished talking about, that collision of innovation with solving and resolving actual practical issues and problems for both the property sector, as well as other technologies. So we did create kind of a living lab for automotive research. Trying to reach into that next generation of advanced manufacturing, the next generation of innovation and technology, the next generation of providing innovation space and collision space for people to kind of work with is kind of the hallmark of what we believe would diversify our economy. It also has been diversified as a result of the arts and cultural sector and the good vibe that exists in the city. I mean, cities are not just jobs; they're jobs plus, what kind of location, what kind of community do you invest in that your employees will enjoy and appreciate? What kind of entertainment facilities do you have? And Hamilton has been converted into as Dave said, that kind of cool place to be. Not unlike what Brooklyn is to New York City, Hamilton is to Toronto, and so we've got a cool vibe going. The arts and cultural sector has been a large driver of that, but interspersed with that is this culture of innovation that I think is very much alive, and this entrepreneurship that is maybe generational as well. So the up and coming graduates from university aren't necessarily waiting for them to get them a job. They're looking at places like the Forge to kind of test out ideas that they can then develop and advance to a larger stage. The one challenge has always been existing labs for entrepreneurs or people with ideas to actually be able to test out, to have the right equipment there, to have that's always been a challenge, and I think the Forge has been kind of leading in that sense. But there is, I think, an even greater demand for that kind of space in our community that allows people to have the kind of equipment available to them that they don't all have to buy, but they can get access to, that they can then utilize to test out their thought process in terms of whatever they're producing. That's a really key element, I think, for any future entrepreneurial innovation.
Yes, I think this whole movement to more flexible office space, flex lab space, a bit more open use space compared to the pigeonhole office, I think is a big trend we've been seeing. Another one which you just mentioned is the innovation and content. I mean, we've identified film industry as a big new demand driver for our real estate and joined up with a film company for it. There's this whole Tiffany Barton land there. I think that the city is dedicating to film. Is there, what is the development there? How do you see that?
Well, I mean, the good news is that one of the proponents of the film industry purchased a substantial building already ready to go that was formerly in production of large containerized units or buildings or self-contained energy pods. They've moved on to another location and they've taken on this large space that really is the forerunner to a more studio space in Hamilton. So a lot of filming is already happening. Film locations are just about everywhere. Old industrial sites are particularly desirable for a whole range of reasons, but historical buildings, which we're not terribly short on, is also a pretty prime location for people to do extensive filming. So that studio space has become even more critical, and there's definitely plans on the Tiffany lands. I would say to most of the people that are watching here, it's a great location for a stadium, but we're past that now. It's a great location for some other major use that could benefit from an active GO station very, very nearby. That was the original vision for a stadium, but I think that works with the film industry as well. So I think the prospects of that, advancing. Pandemic has certainly slowed down a lot of things, and so we may expect that it's not advancing as quickly as we might expect. But the purchase of that building and turning it into and opening it as a film studio is really a key indicator of how the rest of that space is going to go, because studios need space. One location and one building just doesn't do it, and certainly there's a lot of space there to create a campus, which is the original vision. So it's not just about film studio, it's about accommodating people that are coming into film. It's about feeding people that are coming into film. It's about creating a kind of film studio campus experience that goes well beyond just film production, but provides a tourism kind of aspect to it as well.
Yeah. So this mixed use densification of space is really key, and I think it's a driver of demand. You mentioned that in our pre-talk as well, the mix of living and working, also COVID driven, the demand for work and live space, in one project. Do you want to comment on that a bit as a new trend?
Well, I'd like to think it's a new trend. It's been a new trend in the making for about 25 years now. And I thought it would have advanced better, quicker, faster. What it has done, and I think, the evidence of that is James Street North and Locke Street, where many people have converted some of those existing retail locations into, and that tend to have apartments above it, into work-live spaces. And so, the economics of it certainly has always worked. Right now, the business side of the economic formula is a little weak, and so I think we're going to see some slippage in that area. But I think the model for it, in terms of, if you think about some of our bigger challenges as cities, climate change being one of them, our ability to have people working closer to home, all of those things are going to resonate a lot more strongly once this pandemic has passed us, because I think people are reevaluating their kind of work-live environment, and trying to stay close to where you work has merit. People are doing that now based on the need to not commute to Toronto. Is a benefit to a lot of people. So I would say that Hamilton is well positioned to take advantage of that kind of work-live space that people can take advantage of. Toronto, I think, is going to be very hard hit. That their overabundance of commercial space is going to be very significantly challenged. But I think the beneficiaries are going to be smaller communities outside of Toronto that are going to capitalize on people's desires to kind of amalgamate their workspace with their living space, and I think that's going to continue.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I think the smaller cities will leapfrog the development of the big ones now. One of the challenges for mixed use is on one hand, the commercial side that you just mentioned. On the other hand, of course, it's still old planning laws that often restrict the combination of commercial with residential. So they need probably a bit more of a renewal or change to adjust for it. But I think the study you're doing there to accommodate employment lands and intensify land use is going to lead into that direction, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. And it has in the past. So this is our kind of version 2 of the grids, development plan, which incorporates both residential growth and employment land, opportunities. So getting that right, given the current circumstances, is going to be critical. But also, and we've been, for the past 5 years now or more, we've been delaminating our approval and planning processes. So taking out things that are were archaic and no longer necessary. Whether it was issues around water permits, or all kinds of different things that that didn't need to be there, that were just there historically because they were always there. So we've been delayering that process as much as humanly possible to get a approvals process that that is more efficient and more speedy. I would say that we're doing pretty well in that area. I think never quick enough for most developers. I get that. We want it done yesterday, but there are things that we can streamline our process, but we still have provincial regulations and environmentally sensitive areas and all kinds of other things that come into play. But I think it's important that we send the message that we are trying to make the approval process as streamlined as possible, because if people come here and find out that it's going to take them 5 years to get a development permit in place, or they aren't able to get an answer in terms of clarity around how long it might take, then they're going to move on to another place where they can get better clarity and better timelines. So I can say this, though, that we are most assuredly exceedingly faster than Toronto.
Yeah, that's very good. It's very good. David, when it comes to real estate, what is your wish list from the industry to better support what you're doing?
Well, certainly spaces like this are attractive. I remember when friends started working in the Liberty Village area of Toronto, which was really not a place any technology people thought they would be going to. And then you get there and it's this vibrant environment. I think having amenities. So when the mayor talked about partnerships with Bell to make sure that there's fiber all over, all of these things contribute to the lifestyle that the tech employees that we're trying to attract want, right? They want, and they don't want it in the middle of the nowhere. They want the culture and all the other things that go along with that. So I think, the more nimble we can be in terms of making sure those services land here first, because we're the easiest place to land them and we've got, a willing marketplace, the better. I think we're seeing fruits of that with, even things like West Cam coming back to Hamilton and Stryker landing in Hamilton, or the big giant head office. It's a place where their knowledge workers are happy to live. And, like I said, that decoupling that's happening is going to work to our advantage. We don't need to get it all in, one step. It can be head office first, people later, or people first, head office later. But I think all those conditions of the pandemic that have had some that suffer and some that thrive, I think Hamilton's in a unique position to thrive, as a result of this, once some bigger pieces are passed, of course.
Good.
You just call it the Big P?
What's that? Yeah.
That's the first time I've heard that. But it's engraved in my mind now forever.
Did I call it the Big P? I just invented that on my head. Sorry. So
I know we're coming up to half an hour. We actually tried to get people's questions in. I'm having technical problems finding the questions here because I cannot follow the online link. Alex, do you have any questions we want to throw in from the audience? And while you're researching that, maybe my question to Fred is, what is your open-ended? What is your wish list to us as real estate professionals? What do you want to see from us as a city? What we want from you, but what would you hope for from the industry, that we understand better, do better, how we incorporate the city? What's on your wish list?
So one of the things that as we work through our process, we keep telling the industry, and the more refined developers get this and understand this, but some of the smaller ones don't, is make sure you get a good planner that understands the process locally here, because it's going to save you a bundle of time and probably a bundle of money. Because what we invariably are challenged by as a municipality is incomplete development applications that don't have all the information in that should be there. So there's a back and forth in terms of getting everything that we need to process an application. Applications can be processed pretty nimbly and pretty quickly if we have everything we need. If it's only half the story, then it's just going to take an elongated amount of time. So I'm as a planner myself, I'm a great proponent of get a good planner, get a planner that knows the local territory, that understands the planning process, has relationships with the folks that do the approvals. All of that matters, and the more refined the development community can be in terms of their application process, the quicker and more efficient we can be.
Thank you. That's a great answer. Alex, anything from the audience?
And you're on mute if I'm the first person to say it in this teleconference.
No apologies. I'm just trying to do it discreetly as I'm not a guest speaker today. But one question from the audience I see is any comments on growth opportunities at Clapperson's area on both sides of Highway 6? I think it was touched on initially by you, David, but if there's any further comments, I think that's a good one to get into.
I think that's a great area. When we look at the Hamilton Technology Center, that was privatized, and I think the current landlords there are doing a great job. They have an existing technology business in there as well. I think the fact that we took, I mean, if you look at right there, it used to be Westcam and then it was Stryker, and now Stryker's on the other side, and we've actually moved Westcam back. So I feel like all four corners are filling out nicely. And, you know, it feels to me like, you know, when I lived in the city and the different regions were all so separated from the downtown core, it feels like these smaller towns like Waterdam, which is where I live, feels more a part of the downtown core when that happens, when you get these industrial sort of connections or, you know, knowledge worker connections in the middle.
You know, I mean, a lot of this kind of leads back to, and you know, for some, this is a sensitive topic, but it leads back to amalgamation. And, you know, the whole focus of why it was important to amalgamate all the municipalities is that we could actually better define the employment and growth districts for economic development. You know, it was scattered all over the place, you know, in very, very many different categories. The investments were competing against one another, municipality to municipality. And what amalgamation has allowed us to do is to coordinate all of that into sensible districts where good investments can happen because it's the right location. Not because it happens to be in Flamborough, but because it's the right location. Chapmans Corners is a brilliant location in terms of close to highways, major intersection, you know, lots of you know, residential opportunity around that for kind of good quality of lifestyle. And so it was all really about how do we better coordinate our municipality to take advantage of the benefits of the lands and the spaces that we have. And Chapmans Corners is a prime example of that. I mean, a lot of big box locations ended up there because the market is so strong, but commercial industrial opportunities continue to grow, and there's more coming. So there's lots of land yet to be further developed. Liberty actually is expanding in that location. They were one of the primary catches there beyond the industrial park that was up there, and the innovation center that was landed there some 25 years ago was the catalyst for a lot of this development and growth, and now taken over by the private sector as an innovation technology center. So they're continuing on with with Clear Cable, who's now the owner, and is really advancing the innovation and technology through that center for not only there but through the entire community. So it's been a great opportunity to look at all of the areas where location is best for different kinds of industries, and certain Chapmans Corner is just ripe for opportunity there for more space there to develop, and it's still very much in the development phase.
Good. Okay, Alex, do you got one more or?
Yeah, I think we just got one more that just came in right now from Olivia, asking how can we learn more about the innovation and companies coming out of Innovation Factory?
Another punt to me. Thank you very much. We try to showcase all of our companies. You know, first thing now, especially now, is the website. We just recently put up a directory because a lot of investors kind of wanted to browse the companies that we have that are actually in market. So we put a directory up. We're doing a number of events. So the times when we work with new events, Lions Lair was a big event for us that we had to deliver virtually. We've got our Synapse Life Science event, and there's a number of opportunities for people to participate, not just sit and watch a Zoom call. We use a tool called Remo so you can interact a bit. Get to know those companies. And if you see any company that is somebody you want to be involved in, whether you're a partner organization or you have some expertise from a lab, I mean, that's what we do is connect people. So, you know, reach out to us, via the website. We're happy to make those connections for either a one-on-one thing or some sort of bigger networking event. But that's honestly where the magic happens, when we make those connections to from the companies to the outside world.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, David. Fred, maybe just the last one. What's the status of LRT? Can you tell us something about that?
Well, you know, I would say that, you know, a key investment for the city. So, you know, I'm frustrated by the fact that we haven't landed it yet. It should have come, you know, 10 years ago. It is in the hands of the province right now. I can tell you from my perspective with my discussions with the Premier is that he's very keen on making it happen now. Very keen on participating, but he's looking for a different funding model. So one that encourages the federal government to participate in the funding of the project. So they're interested in being a funding partner, but not the sole funder, which is what the original announcement was predicated on. So it's still a very, very key investment for the city of Hamilton. I mean, in terms of development, it was really all about development. I mean, yes, it's a locked-in 30-minute ride from Eastgate to McMaster for the next 40, 50 years, if you can get that dedicated lane in place, which is what it's really all about. But the entire corridor is ripe for renewal, and both from a commercial perspective as well as a residential perspective. So for the city of Hamilton, if we're going to intensify beyond the growth district, so take advantage of existing infrastructure, that is a glorious opportunity to do that, and an even better opportunity to inspire jobs as we come out of this pandemic. So a brilliant stimulus, you know, opportunity. So I would say it's still in discussion stages in terms of between the federal and provincial governments, and we're awaiting an announcement from the province in terms of what direction they're going to go.
All right, thank you. I think that's good news for all of us. So thank you very much for your participation today. I think it was a very interesting chat, and you know, great to see you, and good luck with all the hard work you have ongoing right now. We know this is a busy time for you.
Thank you very much, Wenzel, and Happy New Year to all of our friends in Hamilton that are working hard to stay afloat, and we look forward to interacting with all of you soon, personally. Can't wait.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Exactly. All right, take care, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.